Commission meeting of Tuesday, March 25th, 2014. Roll call.
Dickman here.
Johnston here.
Carrillo here.
Gave chair.
Tweedy here.
Walski here.
Correll here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Item 2 is minutes of the February 25th, 2014 and March 11th, 2014 meetings. Need a motion.
Somebody else.
Walski will make a motion to approve the minutes of February 25, 2014 and March 11, 2014.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman abstains from the February 25th meeting minutes, but it's an aye vote on the March 11th meeting minutes.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Bukevich, aye on February 25th, abstain from March 11th.
Tweedy, aye, and both.
Walski, aye on both.
Corell abstains on both.
Seifert, aye on both.
And Chandler, aye on both.
All right, good stuff. Item 3 is significant common council actions. Carrie.
The Common Council made the following actions. Resolution vacating a part of the public street in the city of Oak Creek, which is known as ABC Street, was held until after a required public hearing scheduled for May 6th. And the following resolutions were approved. One for a certified survey map for the properties of 641 West Oakwood Road, 10303 South Howell, and 10711 South Howell, known as Oakview Business Park. That is for both CSMs. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Item 4A is a sign appeal hearing for the property at 6462 South 27th Street, submitted by Mark Lampy, Tri-City National Bank, NDC LLC, that would allow a business with only an internal entrance to the building to erect a 38-square-foot tenant sign on the facade of the building. Tax key number 715-9019. And Carrie, if you could read the public hearing notice.
City of Oak Creek notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. A public hearing for a sign appeal will be held on Tuesday, March 25th, 2014 at 6 p.m. in the Oak Creek City Hall Common Council Chambers at 8640 South Howell Avenue, Oak Creek, Wisconsin 53154. The appellant is Mark Lampy, Tri-City National Bank. Tax key number 715-9019 for the property at 6462 South 27th Street to request a variance from section 17.0706 sub J2, which states that individual tenants in buildings with internal entrances only shall not be permitted a wall sign. If granted, this variance would allow a business with only an internal entrance to the building to erect a 38-square-foot tenant sign on the facade of the building located at 6462 South 27th Street. The zoning of the property is B4 Highway Business District with a regional retail overlay district. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present dated this 27th day of February 2014.
I'll make 3 calls for public comment on item 4A. First call. Second call. Third and final call for public comment on item 4A. Seeing none, close the public hearing. We'll move to 5A, which is the sign appeal request for the property at 6462 South 27th Street, submitted by Mark Lampy, Tri-City National Bank, NDC LLC, that would allow a business with only an internal entrance to the building to erect a 38-square-foot tenant sign on the facade of the building. Tax key number 715-9019. Open it up for questions, comment from the commission. Is the applicant here or a representative of the applicant? Okay. Commissioner Chandler.
My question is, why do they want to put up the sign?
The reason they want to put up the sign is because Tri-City National Bank is located within the Pick and Save store that is on 27th Street, and since they're an internal tenant, there is no sign outside alerting customers that there is a bank within the location. So what they're asking for is a sign outside similar to the Pick and Save that's across in the Mega Mall.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Correll.
But it's been there for 20 years or whatever inside the Pick and Save. My question is, why now are they asking for this?
I'd love to be able to give you some insight into that. I don't have the information from the applicant as to why now they're requesting it. I apologize.
Well, I guess and I want to make sure I understand it, because I believe that business has been inside there for as long as I can remember back, and that signage is existing. So I guess I'm looking for what the compelling reason would be.
I don't recall whether or not they had a sign before the Pick and Save was redone, and therefore they're asking for another one. I don't know, I apologize. It's a 38 square foot sign on the outside for a tenant, but that's what they're requesting.
Done, Pat?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Bekavich?
I'll put my input in. Tri-City, I look at this more as a service, and I'll use this example. Sunday, I was heading up to my mother's. 76 in Cold Spring, there's the exact same Pick and Save with Tri-City in it, and they have an external sign such as this. I could very easily identify that my bank was in there because I was kind of unsure at the time, and I got to swing in and do my banking. I used to frequent this Pick and Save all the time, and I do frequent Tri-City. Again, it is my bank. Part of the reason is that Tri-City really wasn't in there all that long until after the remodel. They existed in the Pick and Save over here, but not there. And when they started building their new stores, the standards became having that external sign, such as on Ross. And I personally would like to hear from the applicant, but again, I would, oh, they rebuilt the building and didn't include, I've just been notified that they rebuilt the building and didn't include the sign at the time of the remodel. So, again, I'd like to hear from the applicant, but again, I do not have an issue with this at all. I do believe it helps our businesses in Oak Creek, and it's a nice looking sign and it fits the building as it does with the other ones. Thank you.
Mr. Johnston?
I'll withhold my comments.
Mr. Siebert?
Excuse me. I've seen signs on that 76th Street also, so I don't really see a problem with this one.
Anyone know if there's a sign on they have their offices north of there in the building, correct? Is there a Tri-City sign there?
No.
There's no monuments, I'm sorry, I'm speaking out
Go
of
ahead,
turn.
go ahead.
There's no monument sign that I know of. I think there is one on the front of the building, if I'm correct. To tell you the truth, I'm a drive-through guy, so I don't go in there a lot.
Go ahead.
The building to the north does have a pole-mounted Tri-City sign, but that's getting removed with the 27th Street project.
Oh, thank
So
you.
they would have no signage
sign.
whatsoever.
They might have a new monument sign, but their big sign out there now is getting removed, so.
Did the applicant indicate they weren't going to be at the meeting?
No, and I'll be honest with you, they would probably have contacted Pete Wagner, who unfortunately is ill tonight. Otherwise, he would be able to provide more information than I can. I apologize that I don't have the information except for what's in the report.
Because typically, if we don't have an applicant, I don't like to move forward because we can't ask any questions of.
Right. I got no indication from Pete that the applicant would not be here tonight.
So I guess I would leave it up to the other commissioners to decide if they want to move it forward or not, or vote, or hold it to the next plan commission meeting based on the fact that the applicant is not here. So I'll entertain comment on that.
I think we should hold.
Just point of interest, we would have to re-advertise this as a public hearing and go through the whole process again, which would push them back a month easily with going to council again. So as you consider holding, keep that in mind, please.
Commissioner Dickman?
Almost all the comments I was going to make have been brought forth by the commissioners, which is, it's a very good situation. But really, when you look at the store, I think it's been pointed out that there was no sign there before, but the bank that they have, the main bank, is closed on Sundays. So people that go by, and I think you mentioned it.
Yes.
That if somebody didn't realize that, they could still go to the bank, on Sunday, which is inside the Pick and Save. I don't see a problem with it. It's a small sign. It's no different than many other stores have. And this particular store doesn't have a lot of signs on the outside. So if we look at some of the comments, things we're supposed to review when we make our decision, I don't see anything that I see negative. And I really don't see any reason for holding back on it. That's how I
Okay,
feel.
that's why I asked. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I've been informed that the applicant did not actually mention that they were going to not be at the meeting tonight. So this is kind of hitting us all by surprise.
Okay, Alderman Mahowski?
I was just going to say, I would prefer to hold this till the applicant comes and applies. There may be some background here that we need to know, and either for granting a sign or for not granting a sign. To me, it's kind of strange that somebody wants a sign and doesn't come to speak on it.
I can tell you that there are other signs similar to this one in grocery stores throughout the city.
Are they aware we're at 6 o'clock now?
Well, we don't know because they're not here.
Yeah. They do, okay.
They were notified? You know, we've done it both ways. We've moved stuff forward, and we've also held based on non-appearance. So, again, it's up to the rest of the commissioners to decide. Commissioner Corral?
This mayor's come up a few times, and I think in this one, it's based on what Commissioner Johnson said, there's compelling reason why they may want this sign. I get that. I guess my question is, we had talked before about anyone that goes on the agenda, are they told that if they're not here, it's going to be held? I mean, it's pretty much, that's been our precedent in the, I don't know, 15 years I've been up here. So I guess I just wish that, because then if they don't come, then I don't have a problem holding it. If they're really not aware that that's going to happen, then I hate to hold them up.
Staff always tells applicants that they need to have a representative here in case there are any questions, so that somebody can provide the correct information to the commission to make a decision.
Thank you.
My recommendation is to hold, but you can,
fine.
you feel that's the wrong way to go? You want to hold it?
That's up to you, I think.
Sure.
All right, we're going to hold item 4A. We're going to notify the applicant. We'll have to go through the public hearing process again. I don't like to postpone things, especially for a sign. It probably makes sense in the building and to give them the exposure they need. But if we want to have the ability to ask questions, we need the people to show up. And we've held other items recently based on that same justification, so we're going to do the same thing here. So we'll hold item 4A. Move to 5A, new business is a sign appeal, which we won't have to do now because that item's held. So we're going to move down to 5B, temporary use permit for David Page for a seasonal garden center on the Blaine's Farm and Fleet property located at 501 West Rawson Avenue, tax key number 765-9046. Carrie. Applicant is here. Yeah. Can you just identify for the record?
Sure. My
Name and
name is
address?
David Page. Address is 501 West Rawson Avenue.
Okay. Carrie, do you have anything to add, or?
I'll just give you a little bit of a background.
Sure.
The request is for a temporary garden center that will be located on the east side of the parking lot in Blaine's Farm and Fleet. This will take up 68 of the existing parking spaces during that time. The proposed use includes one tent, one aluminum structure with a cloth shade. There will also be racks of plants and related garden products. This will all be enclosed within a split rail fence. It should be noted that the tent will require a tent permit. Electricity will be supplied via existing underground power on the property. Water will be supplied via hose, and the temporary use will be around between mid-April through July 25th. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the temporary use permit for the temporary garden center at 501 West Rawson Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 3. Mr. Mayor.
And this is one of several requests tonight. They've been very well received in the community since we started allowing them. I know I use them. I think it's a good thing. The fact that they are there when people want them and they're removed with no after effect, I think is a good thing. Commissioner Dickman.
No, I think I was going to point out the same thing, and I was going to ask Pete if he were here, but he's not here this evening. I don't believe that in the last 2 or 3 years from any of these three that we've had any comments or any bad situations.
No negative comments received.
So to me, we've, as you point out, Mayor, we've had these before, and they've all met the conditions that we've brought up. So in this particular case, I'm for this one. I notice you already have some of your items sitting out there already waiting, as far as your
Yes,
tent.
it started this yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. So,
Yesterday morning.
so you're anticipating we're going to pass it?
We got a temporary, I think, to do that.
No kidding. Okay.
You're anticipating there will be a spring at some point.
One day. We all hope.
Any other questions or comments on item 5B? Seeing none, motion?
Corral moves that the commission approves a temporary use permit for the temporary garden center at 501 West Rawson Avenue, subject to the following conditions. 1, that all building and fire codes are met. 2, that the temporary use shall expire on July 25th, 2014. 3, that the applicant receive a tent permit prior to opening.
Seifert, second.
Roll call.
Dick and I.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Mahalski, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 5C, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5C is a temporary use permit submitted by Larry Schutz of Westview Gardens for a seasonal garden center on the Classic Lanes property located at 7501 South Howell Avenue, tax key number 782-9036. Carrie?
This is a request for a garden center on the south side of the Classic Lanes parking lot. This will include one hoop tent for flowers, plants, and produce. This again will need a tent permit. Water will be furnished by the bowling alley. This will be open 7 days a week between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Staff recommends that no signage be allowed to be painted or affixed to the exterior of the hoop house and that the applicant is limited to one 32-square-foot sign. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the temporary use permit for the temporary garden center at 7501 South Howell Avenue from May 1st, 2014 through July 4th, 2014, subject to conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. The applicant is here. If you could just identify for the record.
Larry Schutz,
Address.
1247 51st Street, Caledonia, Wisconsin.
Alderman Mahowski?
I was just curious what type of sign you would have that's 32 square feet, if you don't have it attached to the hoop house.
In the past, I've had a sheet of plywood that was just painted with the words flats, $11.99.
You know, in the past, I think you've also, I think you were the guy who was there, correct me if I'm wrong, also painted in red paint on the
Yes.
hoop.
Yes,
Okay, so I would only be suggesting that there's got to be something a little more professional looking as opposed to flats for sale or, you know, when I look at what some of the other people have for Farm Fresh selects or whatever, they're a little more, they may not be, you know, the fonts are different, they look a little homey or country style, but something a little more professional than a piece of plywood that says flats 99 cents or whatever. That's all.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Did you say you actually spray paint on the shelter itself?
I did the first year.
Yeah.
And then I was-
I would encourage you not to do that.
Right.
Well, that's in here.
That was,
Okay. And then I agree with Alderman Mahowski. If you can do something to, you know, make your sign look a little more professional,
okay.
that'd be good. Commissioner Dickman?
I think last year we did talk about that situation with the signs. And that's why he did not, you know, that's why this is coming up again this year, you know, as far as what kind of signage there should be. And I agree that the sign could be a little more professional looking, but it's only a temporary situation also.
Yeah, I still want it to look nice.
Yeah, you want to look good, yeah.
Alderman Mahowski?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you've been here maybe 3 years now. Four. By the time really goes.
Right.
And you probably think you're going to be here 4 more years. And with that said, you make one sign, you make a professional sign today, and you come back for the next 4 years, and it's all taken care of. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Crowell?
Yeah, just to echo that, I mean, a fast signs or some type of commercial, we do these 30-day permits for existing businesses, and they have to have a commercially
Prepared.
Go ahead.
You could,
We just need to be careful about controlling content and design on signs. That's something that we really shouldn't be doing. You can say that the sign should
Quality.
should
that-
be aesthetically pleasing, I suppose, but the content of the sign we cannot regulate.
No concerns about the content.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the aesthetically pleasing part, I think has to be
Yeah.
professional looking.
for example, you could go to one of the many sign places that make banners. You could order a nice, beautiful banner advertising your business, and you could mount it on that same piece of plywood, and it would look like a finished sign.
Yeah.
$100 or less.
That works.
That's a piece of advice.
And again, if you're coming back year after year, you've been here for a while, the investment will be well worthwhile.
But plus, it's easy to store. You just roll it up till next year, you know.
Right.
And I have bought flowers by your place, and I was extremely pleased.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Motion on 5C.
Kakavich will move that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for the temporary garden center at 7501 South Howell Avenue from May 1st, 2014 through July 4th, 2014, with the following conditions. 1, that all building and fire codes are met. 2, that the temporary use shall expire on July 4th, 2014. Allow one sign no larger than 32 square feet and that the applicant obtains a tent permit prior to opening, and 5, that the sign is enhanced to be aesthetically pleasing.
I would just caution you that that should not be a condition. We can control the size, the location, but we can't control the content or that kind of material. So I would just caution you against actually making that a condition. It can be a suggestion.
Will advise that the sign is brought up to an aesthetically pleasing.
Let's leave it this way. The applicant's aware of what our concerns
Yeah.
were.
I think you
I,
Yeah,
I get the
I think
picture.
point's made.
Okay, Dickman seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Mahalski, aye.
Krill, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
5D, temporary use permit request submitted by April Bargar, Continental 77 Fund LLC for a seasonal garden center operated by Stein Garden Centers, Inc. on property located at 9035 South Howell Avenue. Tax key number is 859-9035. Applicant is here. Carrie.
This is a temporary garden center request, and the location will be on the southeast corner of the Kohl's parking lot, which will be encompassing 16 parking spaces. It will include 1 tent, racks for products, a small shed, and garden supplies surrounded by a wood picket fence. The tent will also need a permit. This is the location. You can see it a little bit. Here is the location of the proposed use. Here is the store to outlots here. And if my computer hadn't frozen, then I could tell you what it looked like. Power will be via on-site generator as in the past, and also as in the past, water will be provided by a fire hydrant, and this will last between April through the first week in May. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for the temporary garden center at 9035 South Howell, subject to conditions 1 through 3. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Carrie. And if you could identify for the record.
Brian Lindstroth, 2205 Ashland Avenue, Racine, Wisconsin.
Thank you. Alderman Mahowski.
I was going to say, this is in my aldermanic district, and for the last 2 years at least, I think you've been there 3 or more. You guys have, at least from my point of view, had a nice looking area. It's well kept, it's professional looking, and it provides a service for the community. And I know last year and the year before, I complimented the workers who were there, might have even been you, and said, hey, just so you know, I think you're doing a good job here. So
Thank you.
I certainly don't have a problem with this at all.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Bekavich.
Just one question, and I guess it goes to Assistant Chief Kresick. They water out of the fire hydrant. Does that pose any problems to you? And is the water paid for by the property owner, which I would assume is Kohl's?
That's correct. That's a private hydrant. That is on their property. That's not a city hydrant. They have done that in the past. We do inspect these locations as part of the tent permit and prior to occupancy. If it did pose a risk, we certainly would advise the occupant. Most of the connections that are utilized in these cases, I'll preface it first by saying there are other hydrants servicing this area also. If this hydrant was required, we would have access to it.
Okay, just kind of more informational. And it is, I agree with Alderman Mahalski, it's very professional. I think it's been very successful, and hopefully Steins takes a look at how successful, because there's plenty of great opportunities down here to come in and not do temporary, but do permanent. So,
Any other questions?
No.
Motion on 5D.
Mahalski make a motion that the Plan Commission approves the temporary use permit for the temporary garden center at 9035 South Howell Avenue, subject to the following conditions. 1, that all building and fire codes are met. 2, the temporary use shall expire on July 8th, 2014. And 3, that the applicant receive a tent permit prior to opening.
Seifert, seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Scafidi, aye.
Mahalski, aye.
Krill, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5E is a conditional use permit request submitted by John Schlater, Weisler Number 1 LLC for conditional use for an indoor recreation facility on the property at 7265 South First Street, tax key number 765-9054-001. Carrie. Applicant is here.
This is Ms. Zelinski. She will be the owner-operator of the business. I'm not sure if Mr. Schleter is here. I don't see him.
He is not
There he
here.
is. Okay. Okay. So the application is for an indoor commercial recreation facility within Suite A of the existing building on the property, which you can see is on First Street. And you can't really see it very well, but this is the suite that will be occupied by the proposed use. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works. There will be no outdoor storage, and this is not a drop-off or daycare facility. There will need to be either a parent or a guardian with the children at all times while on the premises. There will be limited concessions, special event space, and office space associated with the proposed business. Hours of operation are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., Friday 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Currently, the property is approved for a total of 63 shared parking stalls. And the maximum calculated that would be required for the proposed business, assuming that the maximum number of people would be there, would be about 49 parking spaces. No signage has been proposed at this time, although Ms. Zelinski has indicated that if she did require a sign, it would most likely be some kind of a decal on the window or the door, and that would just require a regular permit. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit allowing an indoor commercial recreation facility located at 7265 South First Street after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the Commission at the next meeting on April 8th. Mr. Mayor.
So the applicant, if you could identify yourself.
Cindy Zelinski, 3370 South 11th Street, Milwaukee.
And so for the public, what is this business?
It is an indoor playground for children, and I wanted to have an educational focus, so you can come for open play. You stay with your child, and the goal is really for the parents or guardians to participate with the child. I also want to offer, starting with story times, while you are there, just for your not free admission, but included in your admission is story time, where we can work on vocabulary skills, critical thinking skills while reading a book, and then expand that to include music and movement course classes and art classes as well. I'm hoping if we can get this open this summer, by the fall, to offer classes that parents would pay for. There would be either 4 or 6 weeks in length that would focus on preschool skills, possibly for that age of child, or an art type of class, or just, I want an education focus, not a place for kids just run around and act crazy all the time. Birthday party hosting would also be another large portion of the sales. And then holding special events, most likely related to holidays. Having an Easter bunny, a lunch with the Easter bunny, picture with Santa Claus, a Halloween party, things that you can take young children to. And I really want it to be a place that families with multiple age children can come, and there's something for every child to do in this place.
It says the target ages are 1 to 5, and then up to 10 years on evenings and weekends? Mm-hmm. And how much staff will you have in this?
I will be there, obviously, full-time. I've recently unofficially hired my first employee. She did work at Gymboree for almost a year, so she's had a lot of experience working with young children and running classes like the ones I've mentioned. And then I'm looking at hiring probably about 3 to 4 part-time people as well, mostly for the weekends.
Okay.
And then as the business grows, I would need to add more possibly.
Questions? Alderman Bekavich?
More of a comment. First of all, I applaud not only the council, but planning. We rezoned this property to fit this use some time back, and we wished her all the luck, and here she comes for a permit. So once again, we took a dark building and we're putting something in it by being proactive and changing it. There is a need for this. I do have nieces and nephews. They do go into facilities such as this, and this is something I think is going to be worthwhile in Oak Creek, and I applaud your effort and wish you luck.
Thank you.
I'm behind you. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Commissioner Dickman?
Well, first of all, I'd like to compliment you on your marketing plan. It sounds like well, you spent a lot of time on thinking about it and trying to, look at all the aspects of the business. I did want to ask you, there's a lot of teaching involved here. Are these people, or I know you're probably certified.
I am.
But the employees that you hire, are they certified teachers, or how does that work?
Currently not, but the one person that I have unofficially hired, she does have a lot of experience working with children. And she actually has a sister that is going to school, possibly for education, that she's interested in a job as well. And I've done adjunct teaching with Cardinal Stritch, and part of that was advising students or teachers who were going for another degree. And that advising part was really a very collaborative effort where I got to act as a mentor. And I really enjoyed that, where I got to share my experience and help guide them. And so I plan on doing that with this business as well.
Okay, because the parents are there with the children, then the teachers don't have to be certified. Am I thinking?
Correct. I do not fall under daycare licensing or any type of school licensing because I'm not a school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Mahowski?
One of the, in your little plan and drawing there, you got a grocery store?
A play grocery store.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Not that you can go shopping.
Well, I just thought, is this going to be a problem?
Commissioner Chandler?
What are your plans for safety and security of the building?
I do plan on having, I believe the front door actually has a lock on it, like with a buzzer, where people cannot just enter unless you let them in. I haven't been in this site for several months now, so I would have to check on that. But I do also want to have some type of wristband security where I can number the parents with the children and make sure that they match when they leave.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And one of the best security features you'll have is the parents will be with them, so
Exactly.
Important, yeah.
different than a lot of the other situations.
Question.
Any other comments? All right, motion on 5E.
Let's see, Deputy makes a motion, the Plan Commission recommend that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit allowing an indoor commercial recreation facility located at 7265 South First Street after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the commission at the next meeting, which is April 8th of 2014.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Sweetie, aye.
Mahalski, aye.
Curl eye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Last item of the night is 5F. It's a plan review for site landscaping and signage plan submitted by Jerry Mortier of the Redmond Company located at 8750 South Howell Avenue, tax key number 860-9996. Carrie.
This review is for site landscaping and signage approval of the proposed Dunkin' Donuts on this site, which is on the screen right now. Commissioners will recall that at the previous meeting that was discussing the conditional use for this property for the drive-through restaurant, that the applicant proposed that the southeast entrance would be widened with a rumble strip and new directional sign. That is in this location as shown on the map. So this is the rumble strip right in, and here is the location of the directional sign. There's also going to be 2 new directional signs at this existing entrance here, one here, one here. And the final directional sign will be up here, which is right before the entrance to the drive-through. This is where the clearance bar is located. 2 wall signs have been requested as part of this application as well. One will be on the west elevation, and it's a stacked sign. The other one will be on the south elevation, and that is an inline sign. Now, the stacked means that Dunkin' and Donuts will be on top of each other, and inline just means it'll be a straight line. The Plan Commission can permit end cap tenants to have more than one sign. This is similar to the situation that we recently saw for Great Lakes Dermatology. The monument sign will remain the same, except for the new tenant will be represented on that sign, and it must remain 10 feet from the property line. You'll recall that the parking spaces would be moved 10 feet further south, so if the monument sign needed to be moved to accommodate that, it would still have to meet that 10-foot setback. There is a proposed menu board that is on the west, and as soon as I get my graphics back up here, I'll show you where it will be. It's 66.7 square feet. It will have the attachments on the side for the different menu items. And the applicant has proposed vegetative screening to, okay, that's the sign, and here's the menu board up here. So there are these two wings that'll have menu items on it as well. Vegetative screening, again, has been proposed by the applicant to screen the menu board from Howell Avenue. The conditions and restrictions for the conditional use permit did require that vegetation would include landscaping that incorporated a decorative fence or wall. The clearance and order canopy, which is located right here, will be lit according to the plan. It cannot be screened from Howell Avenue due to its height. It's about 9 feet tall. And the comprehensive plan calls for limiting excessive signage. So within the report, we were recommending that either the canopy be changed in some way or eliminated and replaced with a speaker box or a bollard, and the applicant representative has been working with me on that. There are some alternative options for this. I will say, though, that this lighted canopy, there are no similar ones along immediately along Howell Avenue that it can be seen right on the street. It's a little bit redundant also if it's going to be used as a clearance canopy, because as you'll remember, there is already a clearance bar proposed at the entrance to the drive-through right here, so there would be another one right here. There are also a couple of awnings that are proposed with the use. These three are located through the drive-through. This is the pickup window here, and then these three are on the front of the building. It was recommended back in 2008 when this came before the Plan Commission last, that the awnings incorporate the same kind of aesthetic feature as the rest of the building. There are no other awnings that look like this on the building, so it was a recommendation that they match what's there already. But the staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approve the site landscaping and signage plans submitted by Mr. Mortier, the Redmond Company, for the property located at 8750 South Howell Avenue with conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Questions from the commission? Applicant or applicant rep is here. Commissioner Correll?
So the proposed awnings don't match.
They don't match what's already on the building.
So the applicants decided not to follow that?
Well, no, that was a recommendation after we received the plans, and this is something that the applicant
So
is
the
exploring.
response then to that is?
My first time seeing these comments were
Oh,
last evening when I got this.
Why don't you identify first?
Barry Mortier with the Redmond Company.
Thank you.
I can tell you from an architect working with several retailers that brand identity is very important to retailers. When you think of a Dunkin' Donuts, brown and orange awnings are sticking out from the building are very common. Think about your customer experience when you're entering or seeing a retail building. I mean, it begins long before you even walk through those doors. We do have the representatives from Dunkin' Donuts here as well. They can talk more about the importance of those
I
awnings.
guess I understand the brand thing. My question is where we left it, because I didn't quite understand from our package. And I guess my only concern would be from, I guess I have to take some ownership in this, Commissioner Dickman. When we approved this building way back when, we missed on a whole bunch of things. So it's really unattractive, and it sits at the back end facing Howell Avenue. Now we got a drive-through up against it.
Yeah.
Now we got different colored awnings coming in. I mean, it's really not one of our better plans. So that's why my question comes from there.
I think that the colors are somewhat exaggerated on the PDF here. The colors of awnings will be very complementary to the existing yellow brick and the red brick. I mean, I don't think it'll be aesthetically displeasing at all.
Do we have a whole building shot of that at all?
So those aren't the true colors?
It's deceiving on the PDF.
Okay. Well, she's looking, are you done, Pat? Commissioner Dickman? Did you want?
I just wanted to ask the fire department, you remember they were talking, we wanted to make sure that there was no landscaping or any blockage from the hydrant, which is on Howell, coming in, and I just want to make sure that what they've, presented to us here tonight meets those requirements.
As we work with the developer for this site, we'll ensure that there is a maintenance gap kept for the FDC connection off of Howell Avenue. That's certainly something that we have some play with we can certainly work within the specifications there.
Okay. I was glad to see on the awnings also that you don't have the words Dunkin' Donuts on there.
We did at one time.
I know, well, I don't want to see it, okay.
Yeah, instructors take those off.
Commissioner Bakavich.
Just a few comments. As far as the western and the southern sign on both sides of the building, I'm okay with that. I supported it for America's Best Dermatology. I get the deal there. As far as the awnings go, I don't have a lot of heartburn over it. We got the Dunkin' Donuts off of them. If you remember right, the yogurt shop across the way wanted the awnings on. I actually think it really improved the building. It does, and I mean, I think they got pink or something like that, or purple. It doesn't exactly fit the North Shores in there and the other place. But again, no harm, no foul. I do agree with Pat. It's a challenging building. It probably from its inception, and so anything we can do, I guess, to enhance it is fine. As far as the menu boards go, I will go with staff's recommendation if they think it's excessive that way. And I guess the only other thing I would like to advise is I went by the other day and the screening on the utilities, the fence is looking kind of shoddy. If the landlord could
I stopped there.
do something with that, it would be appreciated from my point of view.
Certainly. I met with the manager of Qdoba prior to coming here, and there's a little bit of a laundry list we got to go through for maintenance items there, and that fence was certainly one of them.
Okay, that's it.
Commissioner Chandler?
I just wanted to follow up on the redundancy of the clearance bar and the clearance order canopy. Do you have any feedback on what the plans are moving forward?
You guys can correct me if I'm mistaken here, but the lettering clearance would be, you wouldn't see that on the order canopy itself.
What is the clearance bar is protecting the canopies?
The clearance bar is stopping an individual from pulling all the way into the drive-through lane and getting to the order box without having to back all the way out. That was one of our early comments when we first started looking at the site plan, was that move that clearance bar out early in the progression.
Okay. Other questions?
So will one of the items be removed, or are they remaining?
Yeah, the lettering
Just the
saying
lettering will
clearance
be removed.
at that
Okay.
order canopy would be removed. It'll still say order here, but that clearance 9O wouldn't be there. I mean, the purpose of the canopy is when you roll down your window to place your order, if it's raining or snowing, you're not getting that coming in your vehicle.
But isn't the clearance to help people know how tall?
That'll be
the truck-
established much earlier in the progression into the drive-through.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So the drive-through piece is actually the drive-through canopy. That's what they would see when they pull up to that?
When they order?
Is that what I'm seeing on the bottom right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
that's-
these are directional signs.
That's a directional sign on the bottom right.
Oh, okay.
At the driveway.
Got it. All right. Other questions?
It was mentioned before that we can kind of see it in this picture, but these are what the existing canopies look like. They're kind of metal. And as far as the clearance canopy is concerned, I want to just point out, there is a clearance canopy here, or a clearance bar here, and then the order canopy is right about here.
Yeah.
So it'll be a larger order canopy right about here by the menu board. And that was the comment that staff made about that, is that it's 9 feet tall and you can't really do anything about screening it, because with the proposed vegetation, you're not going to be able to get 9 foot tall vegetation to kind of screen that area.
One thing to make note of, those dark green circles in that landscape plan, those are arborvitae, which will stay green year-round. Once they fully mature, they, for many specs, they're over 8 feet tall.
I guess I don't understand the staff recommendation. They would prefer to see an order speaker box either integrated into the menu board or into a separate bollard immediately adjacent to the menu board, rather than the illuminated clearance order canopy. But doesn't the canopy, as the applicant said, protect people when they order, they don't get soaked by rain or? Yeah, I know you can't hide it, but.
Yeah, I think the concern is for visual clutter along Howell Avenue. The fact that it does have the lettering on it, so it is kind of serving as a sign. The color makes it really stand out. As far as whether or not it provides that extra protection to the driver, that's not something that I'm willing to comment on. It is also lit underneath, so there's that extra light that would be seen from Howell Avenue. You know, these are just things that were brought up that, you know, if we look at what the comp plan says, trying to reduce the signage immediately along Howell Avenue, that's where the comment came from.
Is this consistent with the other Dunkin' Donuts? Not that it's the same applicant, but,
The issue is that this is right along Howell
yeah,
Avenue.
I get that.
Yeah, so where these are elsewhere in the city, they're kind of behind a building, or they're set further back on the property, so this, it may not be abnormal or unusual for a drive-through or for a restaurant, but the location is really the issue.
Typically, you don't run drive-throughs parallel to the main street, at least the ordering areas of them. Commissioner Correll?
I guess my question was, I'm trying to picture some other fast food. I don't think a canopy over the order window is normally in place at McDonald's. Is there always an actual canopy?
There are a couple.
Yeah, the one on Howell here, I think, added the island that has the order areas. I think that's now covered.
Over the top?
Yeah, I think.
It's not.
Yeah, the McDonald's that's
Not on
right next
13th.
to it has them, but they're at the back of the property.
Okay.
Which McDonald's, on 13th?
No, right
13th
down
doesn't
there.
have any.
Howell Avenue.
Oh, the one in Howell, right over here, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just what my question was, is that a constant or not? Or
It might be, it is not a constant,
It's like a good
but
idea.
it might be something that's coming more often now. I've seen it a few more places.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carrillo?
I just want to clarify. So the trees, arborvitaes, would cover up the menu sign.
They would screen it quite effectively.
Okay, and then, but above the menu sign will be a lit yellow pole.
The lighting is underneath the canopy
Okay,
of that order box.
okay, so it'll be a
so when
light
you're-
that shines down.
It shines down, so at nighttime, you got some light that's shining in your vehicle to help you find your change, your wallet
Okay.
when you're placing that order, because usually, I don't know, if you're like me, I'm always looking for that quarter nickel, trying to find it where.
And then a lit or not lit, also yellow bar farther up.
The clearance bar would not be lit.
Okay, so the clearance bar, but it will not be covered.
There's no cover on the clearance
Right,
bar.
okay,
It's
so
just a
clearance bar is a bar.
like an L that's
And then there's
hanging
a
out
lit-
there and
okay.
can swing away if it's.
But, and then that would be covered with foliage. The menu bar, okay, just makes sense.
So you weren't aware previously of the staff comments about the awning should be replaced with a metal flat roof canopy similar to the other entrances in the building currently?
I think it was discussed, oh gosh,
That was in 2008.
yeah.
Old information.
Yeah.
So you're unwilling to, I don't want to put it that way. You're looking to,
We would certainly like to keep those awnings. I mean, we're thinking about brand identity, that's a critical component. I mean, you think of Starbucks, you think of the round circle and green awnings. I mean,
okay. Other comments? Commissioner Chandler?
So if the awnings stay, does that change the number of signs?
No, because there's no lettering, there's no additional information to be displayed on the canopies themselves.
Okay.
It's really up to the Plan Commission.
Get his input on what he feels about too.
The lighted canopy on facing Howell Avenue, what color is that?
The order canopy,
Yeah,
we're showing an orange.
Orange.
Does it come in any other colors?
We can work with colors.
my yeah, absolutely, just identify, and then all I would ask is that if it goes through, I would recommend that we make that as neutral as possible, given your color scheme, so that we don't see this bright orange beacon as people are driving down Howell Avenue. That's my recommendation.
Fair enough.
Name and address?
John Clark, 210 South Water, number 216, Milwaukee.
Thank you.
So just to address some of the canopy, the reason it's lit is because at night when you're pulling up, it lights up the little bit of the area, so if you're pulling up, it's a safety issue. That's the main reason it's there. It's not to show in the card, so people can see, by the menu board in case somebody's sitting in there can reach in the car and do different things. That's the main reason. It's a fluorescent light, very minimal. The signage, which we talked about on the first bar, we can go without signage. We just want people coming in, and then have a car stacked behind it and find out that they can't get out. On the side of the building, That original canopy was ripped off. It looks like it was hit by, you know, a car. We've had damage in other places, in other locations where, you know, people went around the bump bar and came into the building. So, you know, they're there for, you know, the protection of the building and, you know, the awnings and whatnot.
Okay. And Commissioner,
And with the color palette, I can get a color palette to the city planner to see what they, you know, like.
Perfect.
In Menominee Falls, we went to a darker green.
Commissioner Bakavich had a question.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Motion on 5F. Motion on 5F.
Bukavich will make a motion that the Plan Commission approve the site, landscape, and signage plan submitted by Jerry Mortier, the Redmond Company, for the property located at 8750 South Howell with the following conditions. One, that the plans are updated to include a decorative fence or wall in connection with the vegetation screening for the menu board. Two, that the illuminated clearance order canopy, are we replacing it?
No,
or
we're
not?
not doing that.
Strike number 2, please.
Do we drop 2, Carrie?
3, that the proposed awnings are revised to match,
That's
that
changed.
the canopies are consulted upon for color schemes with city planning before being put on the building.
If I can interrupt you there.
Yes, would you?
If the commission is not requiring that the awnings match the rest of the building, you can strike number 3.
Let's strike.
We could strike that.
Can we get the neutral?
Okay.
It's getting easier for you.
I mean, I don't want to totally wipe it out and then they can put fluorescent green. Just so you know where I'm coming from.
Does the applicant have a full understanding that we need that awning to be as neutral as possible, given the color scheme of Dunkin' Donuts?
Correct.
And I think we can put that in.
Okay, how about that the proposed awnings are revised to be a neutral color scheme while working with city.
Revised and approved by staff.
As approved by city plan.
Does that work for you, Carrie? Proposed awnings must be revised and approved by staff. Commissioner Johnston?
Does that include the canopy at the menu bar?
I would hope so. That's the main concern, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one where,
That's the one Steve brought up.
Yeah.
Carrie, are you comfortable with that?
So let me just try and wordsmith this. Condition number 2 now would be that the proposed awning and order/clearance canopy would be revised for color to be approved by the Department of Community Development prior to issuing a building permit.
Bingo.
Bing.
Yes,
Well, I would note
Well
those-
done.
Those canopies are corporate colors. We got,
Consistent with the corporate colors of Dunkin' Donuts.
we got,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
it's
That's what the applicant agreed to when I asked him.
Yeah, we just heard we had green in Menominee Falls or something, so there's some
on
range of.
the
On the
order
order
canopy, the metal components, but the fabric awnings themselves.
Oh, no, that's the next one we're gonna take
Yeah.
you apart
Oh,
of.
so we're talking about the metal
We're on the clearance bar right now.
clearance bar?
Okay.
We're good then.
Okay,
One more.
let's start this over. One, we're okay with one, that the plans include the decorative fence, wall
Right.
connections, vegetation. 2 would be that the illuminated clearance order canopy color scheme be part of their corporate colors to be reviewed and approved by city planning to be in a more neutral scheme. We okay with that?
I liked what,
Sounded better the
I
way
like what she
said it.
said.
You know
Carrie, you
what?
did a
Let's
good
go
job.
back to hers.
Carrie, say the language and he'll just
Did
note it.
remember
That the proposed awnings and clearance order canopy are revised to, let's see if we can try and incorporate this, are revised for color scheme to be approved by the Department of Community Development, and we'll just note that what your corporate color scheme is implied in that.
But you're covering awnings and the,
The clearance and canopy, do you want those separated?
well, it sounded like,
You know what? If we can get through this with them together, I'm okay with that.
well, I think you're looking at two separate things. The applicant is
Yeah.
saying that the awnings have to be the brand, I get all that. And what they're willing to work with is the
The
clearance bar
shouldn't be orange. We asked for a neutral corporate color.
Can I
There's a nice
just,
brown.
Can I
brown.
interrupt for just 1 second? Do you mind if I bring up the email that you sent me with the one in Menominee Falls? The picture?
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you what they did in Menominee Falls. That might actually clear this all up.
What have you been waiting for?
Wait a minute, I didn't take that one.
So
Oh, yeah.
their clearance canopy is like this tan color, and their pickup canopy, their pickup awning, where the drive-through ends, it matches the building color.
I think the building just happens to be corporate
So it kind of blends in with the existing surroundings rather than being orange.
Yeah.
Is
Can I
that,
speak to that one, though? That one, we went to an existing building with the awning there, and that's how it was approved when we went into the building. It wasn't where we went up and asked for a variance. And then we matched the awning to the outside of it, the canopy. So this was an existing building with awnings around it that we went into. We weren't looking for a variance in that building to start. That was our first entrance into Milwaukee. That was the first Dunkin' Donuts that was advised, and that was on there when we got there, and that was what was approved at the time. So we were held to that.
Can you find a color for this awning that's consistent in your palette of colors for Dunkin' Donuts that would be closer to that than a bright orange?
We can, there's the orange and brown are the recommended colors. Because if you go by this Dunkin' Donuts on the side,
Doesn't look like
you can see it's a Dunkin' Donuts. And that's the issue that we ran into there, and that's why, moving forward, we need to be at our corporate colors with that. We can give up, signage, coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, the DDs, but in every community, we've stood fast with we need to have our corporate colors because that's who our identity is.
What's the size of that canopy width-wise?
Mayor, is it possible to go with their colors on the awnings and take away that canopy that we don't really like on Howell Avenue?
Well, the canopy, we can, like I said, we can match basically any color scheme within that fits that building. That's not the issue, because that's,
Well, that's not your issue, but there was a staff issue that didn't want the canopy there at all, based on the clutter to Howell Avenue.
Yes, it's the location that staff has an issue with. It's up to the Plan Commission whether or not that is an acceptable condition.
I'm just
Or-
reminding us, that's what we're, do we want that?
Or do you want something like this that blends in more?
Well, the applicant's saying that that's not what they're looking for.
No, well, not for the canopy. The canopy is basically, that is there as a service to the guests when they're walking. Number one, for at night that they feel there's safety and it's lit, because if you can see, anybody can, hide behind or be by that area. So when you roll down the window, you have a view of what's coming up. So that's lit. And the second piece is that it's protection from rain, snow, whatever's coming into the car. So when they're, speaking or, and again, if you're in the business, people will actually, they'll talk to the menu board and they'll have their hand out and they'll be pointing like, I went to number 3. It's just human nature. So that's why that, and again, as drive-throughs are being built and remodeled, that's going to be the norm, that's what people are looking for, because that's what the guests ask for.
I do remember for a business on Howell and Pute's, the yogurt place, we approved bright pink awnings. And to be honest, I go by that site now and I don't notice that they have bright pink awnings. That wouldn't have been a color that I would have recommended or even thought was a good idea, but sometimes things just blend in on their own after time. So what kind of language are we looking for? What's the applicant want to give us?
again, could that canopy be in your corporate brown?
Yeah, we can match, so the facade of the building is silver. I mean, we can basically probably match any color in there. Everbright, a local vendor, produces it for us, and, they got a color palette that's, we could match basically anything that
So
you
we're
guys
saying
wanted
get
on
the
that.
order canopy matching the building
Yeah.
trim colors.
So-
And
All
the
right.
Dunkin' colors on the awnings.
Okay, are we good with that?
I think that's what we're
We are, and I think the confusion.
Before you speak, just name and address.
My name is Brad Baber. I'm at 223 Aquaview Road in Cedarburg,
Thank you.
Wisconsin. I think the only confusion here is that we're mixing canopy and awning. And what we're trying to, and Mr. Corral said it correctly, that we can pretty much do any color palette on the canopy, the drive-through canopy. Will match whatever the exterior, will blend in with the exterior of the building. It's the awnings, the orange and the brown is what we want to keep to.
Gotcha.
So 2 stays with the canopy for their approval, and 3 goes with the Dunkin' awning.
Okay. We'll start over, 1's okay, and we'll go back to 2, that the illuminated clearance canopy be integrated to match the existing building awning colors.
No, no awning. Don't say
awning.
awning.
No on.
No,
Building colors.
Building
Building
colors.
colors, so that the canopy is,
Neutral.
yeah.
Okay, and 3, that the proposed awnings are revised.
I don't even think you need that one.
No, that's all.
I think you only need to
Do you
mention
gotta
the
mention their
canopy.
corporate colors?
No.
No.
That's
No.
what they're proposing is the corporate colors.
Right.
They're not.
Okay, then
So if
3, that all building and fire codes are met.
So can I clarify that the
Yeah.
conditions are that the plans are updated to include a decorative fence or wall in connection with the vegetative screening for the menu board, that the illuminated clearance order canopy use a blended color to match the existing building, and that all building and fire codes are met.
Okay, Dan?
Krell seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Scavidi, aye.
Mahalski, aye.
That was hard.
Krell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
All right, let's get that built. Let's start eating some donuts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Mahalski makes a motion to adjourn his last meeting.
His last meeting. Before, somebody second.
Krell,
Seifert
second.
seconds.
I want to thank Tom for all of his work. How many years on Plan Commission and Council?
Maybe about 3 on Planning Commission and 8 on the.
8 total. So I want to thank him for all the hard work, all the arguments and discussions and great conversation we've had over the years. Job well done, and you leave a great legacy behind you, so thank you.
Krell seconds.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Scavidi, aye.
Mahalski, aye.
Krell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Were you in last?